Hello, everyone. In this presentation, I'll be discussing the role of the disaster mental health counselor when responding to an active shooter event at a local high school. The sirens fade as I pull up to the school. My hands tighten around the steering wheel, heart pounding beneath the weight of what I'm about to face. I whisper a silent prayer. Lord, guide my words and steady my steps. Though trained in disaster mental health, there's no amount of preparation that is enough to help you feel the moment that you're about to embrace. The parking lot is lined with flashing lights, parents crying, students trembling as I clear past the security and walk toward the gymnasium. The air feels heavy, grief, shock, and confusion blend into a soundless roar. Inside, the chaos is palpable, teachers pacing, children huddled, whispers of names lost. For a brief moment, I wonder if I belong here, if they see me as a helper or another stranger in the storm. Then, in the corner of my eye, I notice a 14-year-old freshman, arms wrapped tightly around herself, whispering, Have you seen her? Have you seen Janet? Her voice quivers between fear and disbelief. In that moment, instinct takes over. I breathe, center myself, and step towards her. It's no longer about training or titles, it's about presence. My discussion will explore three key questions: the strategies from this week's readings, evidence informed approaches, and strategies I've used or observed in the field. Finally, we'll look at what faith has to say in the wake of tragedy. Rational Recent national data reveals that mass shootings are not isolated tragedies, but widespread traumatic events with ripple effects across communities. According to Pyrus, Densley, and Peterson, 2025, nearly 21% of U.S. adults have been directly or indirectly exposed to a mass shooting. This underscores how deeply these incidents permeate our society. Meanwhile, Teshoa and Beltran Silva 2025 found that exposure to such violence disproportionately affects racial and gender groups, elevating suicide risk among marginalized high school students, particularly Black and female youth. Effective disaster mental health counseling after a school shooting must combine immediate stabilization with long term psychosocial support. The response counselor's task in the post incident phase is to provide mental, social, and financial support, along with reassurance and tangible resources. Liberty University, date not found. Behavioral health teams must conduct surveys and follow ups to identify those at highest risk for PTSD, suicidality, insomnia, or other persistent disorders, ensuring no survivor is left untreated. By weaving together quantitative insights, Klein and colleagues, 2025, and Pyrus and colleagues, 2025, cultural awareness, Steinbecky, 2016, and transformative healing, Lund and colleagues, 2021, and Hageman, 2017, we not only respond to crisis, we restore community and hope. These statistics highlight that no community is immune, and they qualify why an effective evidence informed disaster mental health response is essential to protect survivors' long term well being. To contextualize the urgency of this response, Klein, Green, and colleagues 2025 distinguished between mass and non mass school shootings in the United States. While mass shootings are statistically rare, they cause far more casualty, typically four or more fatalities, and multiple injuries, and produce extended institutional disruption and trauma. These numbers reinforce the need for scalable mental health interventions that address both the acute psychological shock and the long term recovery of student, faculty, and family. Insofar as specific strategies are concerned for disaster mental health care, Lund and colleagues proposed the transformative growth framework, emphasizing empowerment and connectedness as they are key to post-traumatic growth. Hageman 2017. Complement this by introducing the concept of symbolic restoration, memorials, rituals, and school reentry as acts of healing. Meanwhile, programs like CBITS provide trauma focused group therapy that reduce intrusive thoughts and promotes coping skills. Given the elevated suicide risk outlined by Skane in 2015 and Teshua and Beltrain Silver 2025, Early screening and referral systems are essential to identify students vulnerable to hopelessness or survivor's guilt. Together, these strategies integrate science, compassion, and community resilience. As a counselor entering the gymnasium to meet survivors, my first responsibility is to reestablish psychological safety. Jacobs 2016 describes the listen, protect, and connect model of community based psychological first aid, which helps stabilize survivors through calm communication and empathy. Similarly, Hagman 2017 notes that after the Sandy Hook tragedy, reopening the school and restoring structure were essential to communal healing. Steinbeck 2016 further reminds us that cultural competency is vital. Recognizing how culture shapes grief, resilience, and spirituality ensures inclusivity in care. Lund and colleagues 2021 proposed the transformative growth framework that emphasizes empowerment and connectedness as key to post traumatic growth. Hagman 2017 complements this by introducing the concept of symbolic restorations, which we already previously discussed. Together, these strategies integrate science, compassion, and community resilience. Biblical integration, faith, tragedy, and the promise of hope of Scripture acknowledges the brokenness of the world with painful honesty. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Genesis 6 5 through 6. NIV, this verse captures the sobering truth of the fallen humanity, a reality that helps survivors of senseless violence understand that their grief arises not from personal failure, but from living in a world deeply fractured by sin. Yet, even amidst such darkness, Jesus offers a contrasting assurance in John 16:33 that in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. His words invite survivors to acknowledge pain without surrendering to despair. Within psychological first aid, PFA, and PIG, which is presence information grounding models, counselors mirror this same truth. We do not erase suffering, but stand present in it, offering stability, truthful stability, guidance, and grounding in the here and now. As Fetus 2019 explains, Christian tragic theology accepts that tragedy exposes the depth of evil and loss, yet simultaneously points towards redemption through divine participation in human suffering. In this way, the gospel does not explain away tragedy, it redeems it. For survivors, this becomes a framework for coping. Faith transforms trauma into testimony, despair into endurance, and mourning into meaning. In the face of chaos, the counselor's compassionate presence becomes an echo of God's own steady, hopeful healing. Faith plays a vital role in the healing process, Hagman 2017. Similarly, Alexander 2020 explores how faith communities act as spiritual first responders, offering space for lament, hope, and meaning making. Through prayer, worship, and shared belief in divine purpose, survivors find psychological and emotional grounding. Churches, mosques, and synagogues frequently provide both tangible resources such as counseling referrals and financial aid and intangible restoration through forgiveness, grace, and communal worship. In integrating these perspectives, disaster mental health counselors can partner with faith leaders to facilitate group healing sessions, memorial services, and trauma informed pastoral care. When community and faith based supports operate alongside professional counseling, survivors experience a holistic form of recovery, one that addresses not only the mind and body, but also the soul. From my professional experience, I've seen that presence before process often determines the success of crisis work. Survivors first need calm and compassionate presence before any formal debriefing. Simple practices like breathing techniques, peer support circles, or silent reflections can restore emotional equilibrium. As a firsthand witness and responder to the devastating impact of the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, there is growth following chaos and tragedy. London Colleagues 2021's transformative growth principles demonstrate how communities progress from despair to meaning making, integrating Hagman's 2017 symbolic healing, such as reopening spaces with compassion, helps to restore not just safety, but identity and belonging. Alexander 2020 writes, healing through faith in the aftermath of a school shooting moves survivors from being mere victims to becoming participants in their own recovery. In conclusion, disaster mental health counseling after a school shooting requires immediate stabilization, trauma informed care, and culturally sensitive practices that foster long term growth. Our mission is not just to help survivors recover, but to help them transform their resilience, faith, and meaning making. Thank you for listening. I'm Sonny Etienne, and this concludes my discussion on the active shooter incident and disaster mental health response, where our mission as counselors is not only to respond to trauma, but to guide communities towards recovery, resilience, and renewal. Again, I want to thank you, and I hope that this presentation was helpful.